Well, we've got another episode of We Don't Color on the Dog. We've got Lindsey Cannon, Executive Director of Escambia Children's Trust. Lindsey, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I was excited last week to see the interlocal agreement that y'all proposed to the Escambia County Commission, because we've got for the last 6 months at least, maybe 8. We've been really, I know the trust and the city and the county have been trying to figure out what's an equitable way to deal with the tax increment dollars, the CRA funds that have flowed into the trust. So talk about the interlocal agreement, because I think this is a really innovative approach that y'all are taking.
Absolutely. Well, and we've consulted, of course, with our counterparts across the state and how they work with their local governments around these. And we've got these 2 statutes that kind of rule it. And the one way to determine which statute supersedes the other is court. And who wants to do that? Like we don't have time for that. The way that you work that together is you come up with an interlocal agreement. And so part of that is looking at what kind of things that the trust was put in place to do that they could do in partnership with the county or the city. And so the interlocal agreement, when we really started looking at it, I heard from Claire Long, who's been running that youth employment program for a long time, and she was concerned that she had a shortfall. And I was like, a shortfall? Like, this is exactly what we need to be doing. We don't need a shortfall for our summer youth employment program. We need to make that whole. And so that's really where we started having these conversations and saying, let's give an example to our commission to say, this is how we could do this. This is something that's near and dear to you all. It meets our mission, and it has the potential to help about 100 more kids if we can do this right.
Right. I mean, the program's highly successful. It's something that Commissioner Lumen May brought to the commission when he came on. They started it as a pilot program. Now they've got over 1,000 kids applying and not enough funds, because what separates this is they want to pay the kids, which adds, more incentive, but also gets them used to being in a real work environment. You can hold them more accountable. So, and it fits the spectrum of what y'all have, the mission of the Children's Trust, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And I think with some of the things when we first started, and we're still in infancy, even though it feels like we've been around for a long time. I mean, we're really like rolling into our 3rd year. And so as we are looking at the type of projects that we're doing, we have a lot of K-5 type of programming. We need to focus a little bit more on that middle school, high school range too. I worked with homeless teens forever. Those are some of my favorite population of children to work with. And so, looking at this is something I could see those kids that I've worked with getting engaged with, not only from an employment perspective, but also understanding how our local county runs. I got the pleasure to go through the LEAP program years ago, and I got to learn so much about how our city and our county run and what makes things work. And I think this is just a really unique opportunity for our kids, and a unique opportunity for us as the trust and the county to say, let's figure this out together.
Right.
What makes the most sense, and will benefit our community, that will benefit families as well as our kids. So it's an exciting opportunity.
It is, and I've talked to Mayor Reeves about it. He is looking at maybe going ahead, and they have a small program that does this, and they're going to go ahead. They're talking now. It hadn't been decided, but I think that they're going to look to fold their program into this so that we have one, countywide employment, summer youth employment program that's professionally run and managed, and the metrics are there. So I think this opens up the door for a lot of conversation about what we're doing with the summer program, at the same time fitting the needs that y'all have to be sure that the funds go to help kids.
Yes. And I think this is just the beginning of it too. We're all figuring it out. And I love the idea of innovation and figuring out how we can, because we really are here to fill gaps. We're not here to supplant. And so if this is a gap and an opportunity, I definitely think that we need to step into that, because we do know the benefits. And one of the things about the youth employment program that I love is that they follow them afterwards. So we'll know some of those kids, if they ended up going back to full-time school, are they working part-time and going to school, or did they gain full-time employment? And that's really a great economic impact that we need to be looking at as well, because we can serve cradle to career with the trust, and that's part of a lot of initiatives going on within our community.
Well, and I know, there has been thought over the years, and some criticism is that, this is supposed to be for new programs. But if you've got a program that is established, you're not having to create it from scratch. You've got the administration side of it already handled, and the measurement side handled. I think that's the perfect type of thing to plug into, because from and the trust, it's sometimes the startups all have great heart, but the ability to get something done takes a whole lot longer to do than when you've got something that's already established.
It does, and we're seeing that. Even, we just finished our CARES grant process. Those all started May 1st, and we have a combination of seasons, organizations, and some brand new ones. This is their first big grant. They've been operating off of donors and people in the community that have rallied around their mission. And so, having to get them started up with, like, you have to have liability insurance. These are some other things of your organization you need to think about. So all heart and really great intention. And so we're spending our time with them specifically to really help get them moving, but also looking at our responsibility around those that may have applied and are going to continue to apply, and maybe offering some education to them in a more formal setting, nonprofit 101, if you will. We're kind of looking at those opportunities locally too, so that it's not that you never will get a grant from the trust. It's not right now. And we're not the only game in town. We can set you up for success with some other funders too. But they're serving our kids. So I definitely feel like there's an obligation to help professionalize them and give them what they need to serve kids successfully.
So what's the next step with the county between now and next week's meeting?
Sure. So we're putting together, I've pulled some things related to the Summer Youth Employment Program. I'm going to work with Claire Long as well this week to just sort of understand all of the outcomes that she tracks and what we can do mutually, and bring that to our board meeting for discussion. So our board meeting is next Tuesday. And we'll be able to see what direction our board would like to go. That's what the county had asked us to do, is if they were open to funding with those back tax dollars, if you will, looking at a 3-year agreement going forward that would enhance the youth employment program and stabilize it for the next 3 years.
Well,
and then we can readdress it, at that time.
Lindsey, having been involved in a lot of different things over the years, and I've sort of talked to the different commissioners individually, is, you've got to get stuff off your table. You got to keep, because the longer you just keep piling issues out there, then nothing really gets done, and the public gets frustrated. And I think that this seems to be a really good solution. It's one that can be looked at and modified if it doesn't quite work out right. That all can change, but I think the commission needs to get some of these issues off the table and move forward, as well as the trust. And you've done a real good job as director, is trying to kind of clean up stuff, get things a little bit more uniformed in the process. But if you don't do it, it becomes such a mountain that it's hard. It gets frustrated and you don't hit your goals.
Absolutely. And the kids ultimately are the ones that suffer this back and forth. And that's why I'm like, let's just do this thing. I'm ready, I'm ready to do it. And we've got a short window. We need to make some decisions because summer is coming, so I know that our board, I've spoken to a lot of them individually. They don't have any interest in dragging this out either. I think they just want a workable solution. And it sounded to me at the last commission meeting that they were open to that and want a collaborative spirit. And I really hope that that's because we've been able to prove ourselves since I've been here and over the last year. And, we've doubled the contracts that we have and really put some metrics in place going forward that the community can rely on. Right.
Well, Lindsey, thank you for coming on today. I look forward to see what happens next week, but we're in Weeklies definitely believes that this is a step in the right direction, and it's worth trying because I think it will make a big difference in kids' lives.
Thank you. And I appreciate the time.
All right. Take
care. Thanks for watching, and to keep up with what's going on, be sure and subscribe. Just click on the little dog to the right and click the subscribe button. You can also like this video and click on the bell, which will notify you of new content. This really helps the channel grow. We appreciate you.